Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you're always healthy, guys. Well, let me introduce myself. My name is Roma. I'm from Prose class, and the purpose of this presentation is as the final project of the Prose course with my beloved lecturer, Miss Ruiz Soekarno. I hope she is always healthy. Amen. Well, in this presentation, I will discuss about a short story entitled Years End by Jumpa Lahiri. Yerzan is a short story by Jhumpa Lahiri. It was published in the December 24, 2007 edition of the New York. For the first, I will explain about literary elements of the short story. There are 10 setting, character, plot, point of view, and message. Based on the definition, time is the subject of this course, general topic, or my problem that is poured into a story. And the analysis in the story, the time is about the struggle of a young man who lost his mother because of cancer and had to accept his father's new wife and two daughters. Ever since his father decided to remarry, he had to learn to adapt to his new family. Next, I will explain about setting. Setting is a description that explains the place, time, atmosphere, or everything about the area that surrounds a story. The setting can be seen from three parts, including the setting of time, place, and atmosphere. Setting of time, his had happened a long time ago. It was nearing Christmas in the summer. Setting of place in India, USA, and Canada. Setting of atmosphere, tension, sadness, loneliness, and adaptation. And analysis in this story, they pick a setting in a fusion of American and India cultures with a rigid atmosphere because the mixture of the two cultures is poured in a story full of conflict of sadness, loneliness, and adaptation of the main character with his new family, namely his stepmother and two stepsisters. Well, guys, now we move to character and characterization. Characterization is a clear picture of someone who is shown in a story. Physical aspect, there are Kausik, Kausik father, Kausik mother, Chitra, Rupa, Piyu, Kausik grandma and grandpa, and the last, Jessica. Based on the character role in plot development, there are main characters, supporting characters, protagonists, and antagonists. And for main character in the story is Kausik. Kausik is the actor who play the main role and the most important thing in a story. This actor often appear in almost every unit of the incident, from exposition to completion. Next, supporting character, there are Grandpa, Grandma, Mother Kausik, Chitra, Piyu, Rupa, and Jessica. They are the actor in character of assisting the main actors in a series of story chains and who mediates between the protagonist and the antagonist. The actor usually appear as character who can help resolve conflict in the story. Next, character protagonist. Kausik is the actor who holds certain character who hold the idea of truth. The protagonist becomes the center of the story and become the reader's idol. The last antagonist character, there is Kausik father. Kausik father is the actor who opposes the protagonist so that there is a conflict in the story. Character classification. Judging from the proportions of its nature, character is divided into flat characters and round characters. Flat characters there are Grandma, Grandpa, Mother Kausik, Chitra, Piyu, and Rupa. From the beginning into the end, the story depict a consistent attitude, kind, caring, and loyal. Next round character there are Kausik and Kausik's father. Kausik's father was gentle and loving at first, but in the middle of the story turned selfish. While Kausik was initially arrogant, grumpy, then at the end of the story regretted his mistake and changed for the better. Judging from the character development, character is divided into two. First, statistic character, and second, dynamic character. Statistic character, there are Kausik mother, grandma, grandpa, Citra, Piyu, Rupa, and Jessica. Essentially, their character doesn't experience any change or development of characters from the event that occur. And dynamic characters, there are Kausik and Kausik father. Kausik's father has grown from a gentle and loving person to a selfish person. On the contrary, Kausik's character was originally arrogant, changed for the better. Well, now I will explain about plot. The plot consists of several parts, namely exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution. Plot is a series of events that move the story to achieve a certain effect. In other words, the plot is cause and effect that makes the story run with a rhythm or style in presenting in the basic idea. Next, exposition. Based on the definition, exposition is the introduction of time, place, and characters, commonly called the introduction stage, which contains a number of important information related to various things that will be told in the next stage. An analysis. Kaushik is a senior student from Bengali who studied in the university in the USA, then moved to the state from Mumbai when he was 16 years old. After their first summer living in the USA, his mother was diagnosed with cancer the following summer. Years later, Kaushik's father informed him when he is back in college and over the phone tell Kaushik that he married in a formal ceremony. Kaushik explained he didn't attend his dad's wedding. He didn't even know until his dad called one day. Now he has one stepmother and two stepsisters. Next, rising action. The rising action occurs when the main problem or conflict is addressed with a form of action. The rising action always leads up to the climax. During the rising action, the protagonist often encounters some sort of crisis that creates tension. An analysis. Kaushik meets his stepmother and two stepsisters on Christmas Day. At the time, Kaushik struggles to face the fact that his father is in another marriage after his mother's death. Kaushik decided to stay in their house for a while with his stepmother and two stepsisters. Next, climax in this story. The climax is the pivotal point in the story when the protagonist deal with the culmination of events. The climax often centers on the protagonist's most difficult challenge or breakest moment. An analysis in the story about climax is before New Year's, Kaushik's father and stepmother get an invitation to family party. They go to a party leaving Kaushik with his stepsisters. That night, Kaushik finds his sisters playing with a shoebox full of his mother's pictures. With a very angry Kaushik yelling and being rude to Pyu and Rupa. Kaushik also throws words that are not appropriate to say to Pyu and Rupa. Without thinking, Kaushik let Pyu and Rupa. Kaushik then left feeling guilty for what he has done to Pyu and Rupa, but he left his sister anyway. He drove all the way to the Canadian border over the next few days. Next, falling action. Based on the definition, the falling action occurs immediately after the climax and details the consequence, good or bad, that the character must deal with after the turning point of events. It leads up to the resolution and sets the stage for the final chapter of the story. An analysis in the story about falling action is Kaushik is aware that leaving the house will make his father worried. On the other hand, Kaushik feels more guilty to Pyu and Rupa about his statement of the girls. Kaushik realizes that Rupa and Pyu are the one that Kaushik should apologize for his biggest mistake. But at the same time, Kaushik knows that what he has done cannot be undone. Next, resolution. Based on the definition, the resolution tells us what happened to the characters after the conflict is resolved. Some stories have happy endings, others have sad endings. The resolution leaves readers with a sense of closure, so they understand the fate of the protagonist and antagonist. An analysis in this story about resolution is when Kausik's father Chitra and his two stepsisters watch Kausik sit on a folding chair on the grass. Clapping as he walks to the pulpit, they pose for a group photo. The girls very polite to Kausik. There, Kausik realized that his stepsister never revealed anything to Chitra or his father about the things that Kausik said and did that night. Haunted by his guilt, Kausik feels punished with the good attitude of his two stepsisters, who apparently protect Kausik by means of they were very polite. Now they become very close like siblings. Without a word from Kausik and his father's mouth, they both realize that they are grateful to Chitra for whatever remains of Kausik's mother's spirit in the last place he called home. Next, point of view. Based on the definition, point of view is a way of looking at the characters in the story by placing themselves in a certain position. And in this short story, the point of view using the first person and sometimes become in the second person. And the last part of plot, I will explain about message. Based on the definition, the message is the advice the author wants to convey through the story. In the story, convey an implicit message about how we should respond to the situation and learn to adapt to change as well as learn to accept that. Well guys, now we arrive in an analysis issue and I will explain about issue. The issue in a story is a problem that should be considered because the issue is an unsolved problem. According to George Simmel, conflict in the community is part of the impact of a person doing social interaction that can result in social integration through compromise or social integration if they don't meet common ground. For example, studies related to the existence of cultural conflicts that occurs in society. This culture is considered strange so that it makes people feel have an attitude of disapproval of social change. And from this story, there are two issues that we can see. The first is the issue of the struggle of an adult boy described by the main character named Kausik. He should accept the reality of death and change, starting with the change in lifestyle and culture change. Then he experienced after deciding to live temporarily with his stepmother and stepsister. The second issue is the impact of this problem on the main character that causes the main character to experience great shock within himself, feel uncomfortable with his new life, but continue to live with his new family, thus allowing him to slowly accept reality and learn from his mistakes in the past, such a hard-hearted beginning to accept change.